And in this next moment, I'm happy to introduce Kris Steinnes. Kris is the visionary founder of Women of Wisdom. How many Women of Wisdom are in the room today? Wow. I'm going to raise my hand too. The Women of Wisdom Conference celebrated its 20th year in 2012. And in 1998, Kris founded the nonprofit organization Women of Wisdom Foundation, where she created a collaborative leadership model. And she's the author of a #1 Amazon best-selling, award-winning, inspirational, let me say that again. Can I say it again, Kris? A #1 Amazon, I'm going to test you, see if you remember all this, best-selling, award-winning, inspirational book, Women of Wisdom, Empowering the Dreams and Spirit of Women. Let's give a nice, warm, warm welcome to Kris Steinnes. Thank you, Kris.
Oh, the lights are bright. Why don't we just, I would love for everybody to take a deep breath so I can breathe. That's always helpful. So I was asked to speak here by Lavanya. Thank you, Lavanya. And the topic was Women in the New Era. And, I mean, it's an interesting topic because, like, what is the new era? I don't know if we'll know what it is until we get there. It's something new, so we have to create it. So what does that mean? And I think what we're all facing right now is that longing for a new era. We're kind of tired of the old. You know, it's like we're here to celebrate, to bring about peace and celebrate that. And as we did in the opening, it starts here within. And I think we have a longing for that, to feel that outside of just here. You know, we all want that peace, but we want it around the world. And if we just take a moment and picture that happening, I think we're closer to that vision, closer to having peace. And, you know, I think women particularly, we're a little tired of war, aren't we? Yeah, it's getting old, so we want the new. So we're also here to celebrate women, and that's something I've been living with for about 20 years, having founded Women of Wisdom, and I'm used to being in a room of all women. I just want to acknowledge the men that are here. You're very brave. Yay. And my sense is you're here because you come to support women. It is a women's conference, a women's seminar about women, and we need the support from the men in our families, in our communities. We do. And, you know, we've come a long way, but I realize we've got a long way to go. If you look at the statistics, women and girls are the poorest, most discriminated against group in the world. Of the 1.3 billion people living in absolute poverty around the globe, 70% are women and girls. Women work 2/3 of the world's working hours, yet earn only 10% of the income. So we're talking worldwide in these statistics. Women produce half the world's food, yet own only 1% of its land. Women make up 2/3 of the estimated 876 million adults worldwide who cannot read or write, and girls make up 2/3 of 77 million children not attending school. So that's what I mean when I say we've got a lot of work to do. And if we're going to create this new era, we want that all those are rights. You know, that's our right to have an education, to be able to read and write, to have food, to have a decent income. That's our right. And it's time to stop this woman being second-class citizens. And what it takes is we have to stand up for it. We have to voice our feelings, our opinions. We need to make known what it is we are calling forth, what we want to see in the world. It demands us to speak up. And we can't just blame it on the patriarchal anymore, I don't think, because that just continues to keep us as victims. And when we buy into the fact we are victims, we become complicit in it, because we're not claiming our power, how powerful we are. We're not taking our power. And we're very powerful. I have a friend, Hillary Hart, who's, I have the privilege of reading her new book. It's not out yet. It'll be out next spring. But she says that our journey requires restoring the sacred feminine and healing the wounds that dominate our consciousness, our unconsciousness, and our habitual behaviors to each other, ourselves, and the earth. So for women, this means as we disconnect from the numbing and the deadening patterns that keep us unaware of how we are participating in our own oppression and powerlessness, and acknowledging both what our ongoing patriarchal world does to us and others and how we are complicit. So that takes some real looking at, what are we doing keeping ourselves in this situation where we're powerless? And I know we are not powerless. And one of the things that Hillary goes into is the power that we don't always acknowledge. It's in our bodies. And women have a very special body. We give birth. So we're part of that creative force. And we're connected to the earth. We have a very sacred connection to the earth because of that. And the earth gives birth too. It gives growth to plants and trees. And so there's that connection. We have a sacred connection to the earth. And in our body, actually, it rests our power. And we're being connected to the earth, we're also connected, we connect that to our hearts. And so that's, we always talk about our powers and our feelings. I think that's very important to acknowledge your feelings, and our power is there, and then connect that, show that outwards in your heart. We express that outwards to other people. But we also send it down into the earth. Our earth needs a lot of healing right now, don't you think? And women can create that by tapping into that sacred energy that we have and connect to the earth and start sending our healing energy to the earth. There's a doctor, Chinese Qigong master, Dr. Guan Chang Sun. He says, a woman's body is so beautifully designed. The uterus brings in energy, just like the oceans of the earth. The breasts emit energy outward, just like mountains of the earth. This is a cycle unique to women. I recently interviewed a woman on my radio show, and she has a wonderful book about women, and she talks about the wisdom being in our wombs. Now, we've all known we have this wisdom in our minds, and they've been telling us, no, our wisdom's in our heart. Now we got to go deeper. We got to get down into our wombs. That's where our power base is. So, it keeps evolving, our knowledge of where our power is and what to tap into. But that's so true, because the womb has that creative energy, and there's so much power there. And I think the new era of women means we're no longer holding back our power. That means our gifts, our love, our nurturing. So each of us have unique gifts. It's there for us to develop them, to discover them, and share them. And sometimes we've been trapped in our patterns where we've held our power, because when you're told out there in the culture you don't have power, how we can claim our power is withhold it. And what my friend Hillary Hart says is we've got to stop doing that. We've got to start sharing our power, being our power. So it's really about being in our power. And to wake up to the nature of our true power. Because we've forgotten it, and we've forgotten how it heals and how it sustains the earth. And that also means truly living in our bodies and being aware. And I think sometimes we think of spirituality, of being up here, and we're so wise and wonderful. But we have to remember our bodies. There's so much wisdom and knowledge in our bodies. And to be embodied here on the earth is a very powerful process. So it's something new to be born. And it's up for women to bring that forward. And that means bringing our gifts to the forefront, being visible, speaking our minds. I think it's very important to women to be getting out there and speaking and being visible, especially for the young girls, that they see women are powerful. Marion Woodman, who's a Jungian psychologist from Canada, I want to read a quote that she says. She says, the crone has been so brutally repressed. One of the greatest threats to patriarchy has been the wise woman, healer, and transformer, so it's natural that she's been denigrated as the old hag. And if you think about it, back in the Dark Ages, or I don't know what years it was, 1600, 1800, when the wise woman healers, who they named witches, were burned, and they destroyed the elder culture, because then that would also destroy women's power, women's culture, because there was nothing for the young girls and the mothers to look up to. And she claims that that the crone hasn't been as present in a culture as it needs to be. It's not been honored. She's not accessible to the conscious awareness of modern woman. It even affects the dynamic symbols of virgin and mother as that gets distorted when there is not honoring of the wise woman. So you see that happening when the young girls don't have anybody to look up to as being wise, and we're starting to see it. We're starting to see women leaders come forward. We're starting to see, we have our elders, we have the Jean Houstons, we have the Gloria Steinems, we have people we look up to, but there aren't as many as there are men leaders. And women's voices aren't as honored. I've done workshops or I've talked with places and I asked for a show of hands of how many women in the room feel honored and respected. I've even done this in a group, it was teens and women, and no one raised their hands. And that's amazing, that we grow up feeling so disrespected and so dishonored. But I feel like it really comes from starting from ourselves. When we start to honor ourselves and respect ourselves, it'll start showing up there, because we will be that. We will be that respected woman, that respected leader, that respected and honored person, and we will show that for other people, other women, young girls, so they will see that. And that's what's happening. It's beginning to happen. We're starting to see it happen. Gatherings like this, and with the internet, there's so many women's organizations now and online seminars, and so you can really tap into that culture of women and the powerful women that are out there. And that's what I think it's amazing with the internet, that we can join. I think one of the most important things is for us to join in community. So we have our unique gifts. But it isn't about being competitive and saying, well, my gift is better than yours, or I can't do that because that person does that. They're all unique, so we can all participate in the sharing of our gifts, and it's about being in community, working together to bring about this new era of women, a new era of peace, a new era of wisdom, all that we're here for today. And it's just so much more powerful when we work together. So I want to encourage you to support your sisters in finding their voices and their gifts, support each other. I know I used to think that why would people read my book? There's so many books out there on the divine feminine, but everybody has a unique voice, and mine will reach people who the book will speak to, and other people's language and ways of expressing will speak to other people. So there's room for all of us, and I think our stories are so important. Our personal stories, we learn so much from our stories, even sharing our failures, which we sometimes feel shameful to do. But in sharing our failures, other women and young girls learn from us. We can pass down that heritage. And I know I used to think I didn't have a story, and I went to a women's camp for like 5 years. They'd have story night, and every time I would go blank. I don't have a story. And then I'd go, that's ridiculous. I've traveled around the world. I started Women of Wisdom. I've done these things. Why don't I have a story? And finally, the last year, I raised my hand bravely, and I got up and shared my story, how I started Women of Wisdom and different things. And people came up to me afterwards and thanked me, and I realized it's a blessing. It's actually selfish to hold back my story, because whenever I share a story, I know there's somebody in the room that receives that story and will say, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for saying that. And so when you get a little nudge in your mind that says, I should say this, and then you get scared, oh, I don't want to understand it. That nudge is telling you there's someone in the room who needs to hear that. And so I encourage you to be brave and share that story. So we're here at an era where we're not going to allow others to put us down, and we will demand the respect that we deserve as women. And just by being in our unique woman's power that's connected to the sacred, to the earth, and to creation. So I'd like everybody to just take a moment and close your eyes, and I would like you to just tune in to within yourself and acknowledge the gift that you have, the gift that you were brought here at this time, and how you can share that out in the world. And just get in touch with that. It might just be a very simple thing of, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a teacher. Whatever it is, that's your gift. And really feel it in your body. Men can do this too. You have gifts too. And now I want you to extend that out and be aware of all the people at your table and be aware of their gifts and how, as a community, you can even become larger than life. Your gifts can become even more visible, more productive, more at purpose with others. And just feel that energy of the table, how you're joined together in all your unique gifts and all your beautiful energies and what you can create together. And then extend that to the whole room. We're a community here, a very diverse community. It's a beautiful community. And see how we can reach out and touch everybody with our gifts. And how we can receive other people's gifts. And there's an exchange, there's a flow. I'm giving my gift to you, and you're giving your gift to me. Thank you for sharing your gifts.
Let her know that we really appreciated that. Thank you, Kris.